Good morning.
Okay, we are live.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. Hola and bienvenidos. Welcome to Ofrendas of Honor, a part of Community Day, Día de los Muertos. We're very excited to have you all today on this program, joining us for a day-long celebration, really, of honoring Day of the Dead. We have a fun program for you today where we're going to be talking about how Dia de los Muertos started, what the different traditions are, and how they are celebrated a little bit around the world. We are also going to do a little bit of hands-on altar making of our own at the end of today's program, and Juan is going to share some other activities that we can make to get a little crafty in today's celebration. So I want to encourage you all to gather around your computer, grab your friends and family or your pod or whoever you have nearby, and get ready for a fun program today and really a day-long celebration honoring Day of the Dead. Today, to add a little extra level of fun to our events, the Newark Museum of Art has created our very own Instagram filter. So if you are interested in celebrating, you can go on to our Instagram and you can find our filter on the third tab here. And you can take a photo of yourself and it will transform you into La Catrina. So I encourage you all to try that out, to share your photos of the filter. It's a lot of fun and it's an easy way to kind of transform yourself and tag us in those photos. Let us know. Our hashtag for today's event is NMOA, Dia de los Muertos. But let me, without further ado, introduce our program today. We're very excited to be joined by Juan from Mano a Mano, Mexican Culture Without Borders. I'm so excited to have you, Juan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So we have a lot of fun stuff planned for today's program, but when you and I were talking, we thought it might be nice to start today's event by really discussing what is Day of the Dead? What is Dia de los Muertos? What does it look like? How do people celebrate it? How is it celebrated throughout the world? So I'm going to hand it over to you so that you can share with us a little bit about today's celebration.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. The celebration of Day of the Dead it's really a very old tradition. It's a celebration that is believed to started over 3,000 years ago. And over time, it has evolved and it has changed little by little. Different cultures have added their own beliefs and celebrations. But the origin of what we are talking about today, which is Day of the Dead, started in central and southern Mexico with the many civilizations that lived in that area throughout the last 3,000 years. And there is a little bit of a difference between the celebration of Day of the Dead in Mexico and the rest of the world. Originally, the Feast of the Dead, as it was called, happened at the end of the summer. And it was a 40-day celebration that 20 days people would remember the children, and then the other 20 days people would remember adults. But when the Spanish came to Mexico and conquered Mexico, they wanted to get rid of a lot of culture and traditions. And so something happened, and this celebration was moved to November 2nd to coincide with the celebration, the Roman Catholic celebration of All Saints and All Souls Day, that being today and tomorrow. And as this celebration was moved, it sort of was Christianized and it merged. And there's a word that a lot of people like to use, a lot of, especially anthropologists, and they say that this is a syncretism. Two different ideas came together, and that's really what we have today as Day of the Dead. And in the rest of Latin America and in many European countries and other countries around the world, today and tomorrow is also All Saints Day, and that's related to religion, and it's a religious celebration. The way that we do it in Mexico, as you can see in this image was actually done, or this altar was done here in New York City but following the Mexican tradition of honoring the dead. In Mexico, we do ofrendas, or altars. And on these altars, we place a lot of different items. And that's where the difference is between the celebration of Day of the Dead in Mexico as opposed to All Souls Day in the rest of the world where it's celebrated. But the idea of honoring the dead, which is really the main objective of Day of the Dead, it's something that every culture does in different ways. Some people do it on different dates. And so throughout the world, everybody honors their dead. On our next picture, we'll be showing you some of the elements that, now this is another, a close-up of a different ofrenda we did. And this one, as you can see, has pictures of people. There we honored the founders of the Mexican Republic, and also women who died in northern Mexico. On our next image, we have one of the big representative elements of Day of the Dead, and those are the sugar skulls. And sugar skulls, they came into the tradition around 300 to 400 years with the arrival of what is called alfañique, which is a sugar paste that is made that came from Spain into Mexico, and people started making sugar skulls and decorating them. And sugar skulls are very important in the tradition of Day of the Dead because they are a symbol of honoring someone when you place them on an ofrenda, and when you give it to someone else. In some parts of Mexico, the tradition varies and changes from place to place, but in some parts of Mexico, the sugar skulls are also given to the living. And when you give a sugar skull to the living, it's a reminder of our mortality. Sugar skulls also, their symbol also, another symbol which makes them important is that they are sort of universal, and that it means that we all look alike, we are all the same. On the next picture, we'll see a closer of a sugar skull and the bread. So this is the bread, it's called pan de muerto, or the bread of the dead. And this changes from region to region. So a little bit later, I'll explain more about the bread. On our following picture, we have marigold flowers. So the marigold flowers are probably one of the most important elements of an ofrenda. These flowers in Spanish are called cempasúchil, and that word itself comes from the Nahuatl language, the language spoken by the Mexicas, also known as the Aztecs. And this flower in Nahuatl is called cempasúchil. Some people know it as marigold flowers. In Central and South America, especially South America, it's also known as calendula. This flower is native to Mexico. This picture is from a field in Mexico. And the flower is believed that during Day of the Dead, these flowers are everywhere. And you see carpets of them. You see people putting flowers everywhere. Altars have so many of these flowers. And these flowers are, in the past, people used to do medicines with it, or tea and things like that. But today, a lot of cultures around the world use this flower also. Next.
It's interesting you mentioned tea, because when you said calendula, I've had a lot of teas that have that as an ingredient.
That's the marigold.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is the makeup, right? So you see a lot of makeup, especially in the last 10 years, a lot of people using makeup. So where does this idea of makeup come from? Well, it comes a little bit from the sugar skulls. This idea of decorating your face in the same manner as a sugar skull. In the US, we see that there's some imagery from Halloween that is being used on some of the makeup. And that's interesting because a lot of people, while the holidays are totally different and they come from different parts of the world, a lot of people may not know and may mix those two traditions. But the idea of doing this, it's really just to be part of you know, a great celebration. Next. So here, this is we did this template, and this is as you can see on the forehead, there's a name, right? Because the person that you are honoring and remembering, you put their name on, so because this would belong to them. And for the living, you will also do a name. And I think we send a template that you can download and color and play with it and give it to your friends and loved ones. Next. So now let's talk a little bit about more of the things that are put on an ofrenda. So this image, in Mexico, especially today, we remember and honor children who have passed away. And so if a child passed away, unfortunately, one of the things that we like to put on an ofrenda are toys, because the belief is that during the celebration of Day of the Dead, they come back to visit us. And so if they come back to visit us, we want to do great things for them. So we offer them gifts, right? And these gifts would be for children toys. For adults, we put fruit, vegetables, food, flowers, a lot of different things. And we always put water on altars. So this is a picture of water. And this water is, of course, it's believed that, you know, the souls of the dead, in case they need water to quench their thirst, we would put that on the ofrenda. The idea of the ofrenda, if you can go to the next image, is that you are having guests at your house, right? And so the ofrenda is for them, and this is the place where they can come and stay with us and be with us and participate in what we're doing. Right here, this is a close-up of the bread, and the pan de muerto, or the bread of the dead, changes and varies from region to region. So in Mexico, in one town, this could be the bread. In other towns, it could be very, very different. But the idea of offering the bread is one also of the most important ones. And this one is believed that came in with this changing of the celebration to coincide with All Saints and All Souls Day. Next
now,
image.
Juan, when you mentioned these ofrendas, they would be created in your home, or would they be created outdoors? But you're saying it's for your visitors, so I'm guessing it's like somewhere in your house, correct?
Correct. So during Day of the Dead in Mexico, the celebration changes. Really, the dates are many start on October 28th, and they celebrate all the way through November 2nd. Some people only do it November 1st and 2nd. But Day of the Dead is a private family affair. So families make these ofrendas and altars it generally happens in the living room or in the dining room, wherever is the best, most visible place or the best place that they can offer to loved ones. So all of these are done inside homes. Now, 30 years ago, people in Mexico started to bring this into the outside and do public events and do public ofrendas. In the United States, here in New York specifically, Mano and the founders of the organization started Day of the Dead about 20 years ago, and it was the same idea. We wanted people to celebrate, and instead of just encourage them to celebrate, let's say, we would make the celebration public so that people can join us. And one of the big reasons why we thought it was so important is because there is the use of candles, the use of copal, which if we go to the next image, we'll see one of the following images. The copal is one of the very important elements. But let me get back to this, and so I'll come back to that point. But the one of the other elements that we have, which are also very important, is the papel picado. Papel picado is really just chiseled paper or cut paper, and this paper generally has images of skeletons, skulls. A lot of people would put crosses, obviously, because the celebration also it sort of has religious connotations, right? For many people. So here in this papel amarillo, you see, or this yellow paper, you see that there are a male and a female, and they're dancing. So and then behind is, of course, La Catrina. Um, and the idea of the skulls, and this is where Day of the Dead is different from Halloween, for example, or from other celebrations, where all the skulls and skeletons are supposed to be happy and are supposed to be joyous, friendly, and welcoming. The idea is that you're not afraid of the skulls. This is not a spooky holiday. On the contrary, this is a very, very important celebration where everyone is welcome, and the whole idea is really to honor and revere those that have passed away. On our
I
next
love
image.
that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Juan, because I think that's an important distinction to make, especially with yesterday being Halloween.
Yes, and a lot of people don't know, that may not understand and think that people have told me, is Day of the Dead the Mexican version of Halloween? And so we obviously we understand that there could be confusion because of the use of similar iconography, but obviously they're very different, and they should both, I think, should be celebrated. I don't think they should be, combined or used together, but some people, people can do as they please. So here we have an image of our ofrenda from last year, and this is one of the things that we do, right? So we do the ofrenda, we put pictures, all the elements necessary, and then we ask members of the public to join us and honor their loved ones along with ours. And people come from all walks of life, and they add candles, letters, messages. And here, as you can see, there's a child, and the gentleman here is telling him and explaining to him what an ofrenda is and how to place an offering. On the next image. So now we're going to give you some examples of different ofrendas. So an ofrenda, as I said, is a place where you offer things, an altar where you offer things to the dead. And they can be really very small and simple. I mean, it could just be a picture with flowers. That could be an ofrenda. Or it could be something very, very elaborate, like with tons of food, flowers, and pictures, bread. And if you go to the next image, we should have another example of an ofrenda. So this is another one we did in 2016. And here we were remembering one of the biggest or one of the most famous Mexican artists who passed away. He was a singer. His name Juan Gabriel, and we were remembering him. He had passed away a few days before before Day of the Dead. So we thought it was important to remember him. One of the things that we do is we always remember Mexican artists or Mexicans who have Mexican or Mexican Americans who have a big contribution to culture, and then we invite everyone to join us in this celebration.
The colors are beautiful, Juan. Is there a significance to the colors? The pink, they're so vibrant. The pinks and the greens and the yellows are just gorgeous.
All the colors have meanings. All the colors have symbolisms. The purple, it is the color of the dead, and that's a tradition that came with the religion of Roman Catholic religion. But all colors have some sort of meaning. On next image. So this is the ofrenda we did this year. Because of what's going on right now, we canceled most of our events, but we still did an ofrenda to remember our loved ones. And this is the one we did in our studio. Next image. Oh, so this is another ofrenda we did in Jackson Heights, and this one has been up and is going to be up here in Queens, New York for about 20 more days. And this is one that was done on a window on the front store. And the idea of this one is that since, because of the social distancing and other measures, safety measures, we thought Well, the best way that people can see an ofrenda is to put it behind the glass, and that way, they can pass and contemplate or meditate. And many people have passed by, and they actually ask questions about the ofrenda. And do we have one more image? Yes. So this is a picture of a cemetery. And this is how normally cemeteries would look on the night of November 1st, leading into November 2nd. And the following picture is also from a cemetery. This one is where I'm from, in Michoacan. And this is really, when I was a kid, this is how cemeteries looked. And we would go at night to honor and remember those who have passed away. So I think it's really a beautiful celebration and tradition. And one of the important things I think that a lot of people would connect to this idea of visiting cemeteries is that this is done in Mexico, in Latin America, and really throughout the world, especially on tonight and tomorrow. A lot of countries around the world or cultures that celebrate All Souls Day, the religious celebration, they also visit cemeteries. I think that's our last image. Yes, so that's us, Mano a Mano, Mexican Culture Without Borders. And as I said, our organization it's based here in New York City, and we do a lot of programs based on traditional culture. We do a lot of school visits where we talk about our different culture and traditions. We do a lot of handcrafts, we do music, and many other things.
That was wonderful, Juan. Thank you so much. And you had mentioned that you all have an ofrenda that you make in your studio, and I thought if you were interested, I could share a little video clip of that. Maybe you could just talk us through some of what we're seeing in that altar.
Sure.
Wonderful. Let me pull that up for everyone. This is a beautiful ofrenda. All right, and you let me know when it starts playing so that
Sure, you can start. So this is the ofrenda we did, and we shot a little video just to show you how they looked. And I mentioned the copal, the burning incense, which is that cup there, black cup, and those crystallized liquid that is the copal, and is burned. And as you can see, there's a lot of paper flowers. The paper flowers are one of those elements that a lot of people create. You see a lot of skulls, you see the toys, fruit. The toys, as I said, they're important for children because we of course want to remember everyone who has passed away. The large candles generally are turned on, but here, because we're indoors, we didn't turn them on. But also just putting candles without turning them on is important. And in some traditions, people burn some and put some as a gift. You can see there's a Catrina right there. Well, there's two Catrinas. We see a doll, and then flowers are very, very important. And in the back, you see those skulls, right? Those skulls are made out of tin or some metal, and they are an inspiration from the sugar skulls. And on the corner there, you see the image of a saint, Our Lady of Guadalupe. A lot of altars may have saints, may not have saints. That really depends on a person's particular particular beliefs. And then on top, of course, you see that there's a lot of paper, and paper. I would say paper flowers and skulls are probably one of the well, not one, but three of the most representative items of the celebration of Day of the Dead. And here you see obviously other papers, and as you see, the imagery is very friendly. It's welcoming. It's not scary. So think of Day of the Dead as really a beautiful holiday where all people get together, the living and the dead, to spend time together. That's really what the holiday is all about. And here, we end with the bread and the sugar skulls.
That's wonderful, Juan. And I really enjoy what you've said about the skeletons and the skulls, those are things, maybe those are images we know from Halloween or we've seen, and maybe they've been put in sort of a spooky perspective. But for this celebration, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about celebrating and honoring. And like you said, under all of this flesh that we all have the same, bone structure, makeup. I'm not in the medical field, so I can't get too specific on that. But I really enjoy that you said that, because we're all the same exactly when you get down to the bones of it.
Yes, that is correct.
Wonderful. Well, if we have a few more minutes, Juan, I thought what we could do is talk about making our own altars. And so for those of you on our Zoom session today, you should have been emailed a template of an altar. And for those of you who maybe didn't receive it, I will send a follow-up email after this program so that you all can make these at your leisure. But I have traced mine, since I don't own a printer, Juan, in today's age. I traced my my altar, and I thought you could just show us a little bit of how we would make our own paper altars, because I think this is something, like you said, it's really important to do with your family, with your little ones, and to get them celebrating right along, with the tradition.
Sure. Let's see. Okay. Great. So here we have, obviously this is this is a paper ofrenda, and paper ofrendas can be, especially for kids, I think this one would be really important, so they understand some of the concepts around Day of the Dead. And one of the things that, so we're going to go quick with this one for the time being, but basically what you have here, these here would be the offerings, and I colored them some, so you can obviously color some of these, and the whole idea really is to put them in a way that it would look like an altar. So you would cut around on the gray lines on both of these images here, and so and then cut around the offerings.
And then is that Pan de Muerto on the top there that you have in your offering?
This one, yes.
Oh, wonderful.
So let's go with and explain what they are, right? So we have sort of like a basket of fruits, and then we have a plate with additional fruit. So in this case, this person may like fruit a lot. And then we have 2 pan de muertos. We have the marigold flowers. We have some peppers here, and then we have candles, and then over here we have a sugar skull. So this here in the middle would be sort of the place of honor, and that's where we would put someone we want to remember. And for this one, I wanted to remember this gentleman. His name is Jose Guadalupe Posada. He was the creator of La Catrina, and there's really not a lot of images of him. This is a sketch that somebody did. So what we would do is obviously color everything, and then cut it out so we can put it together. And when you cut it out, this is what you have. So you have here all the elements that you do, and then you can use Scotch tape, any kind of tape, or you can even use a stick glue. And then the way we do it is, so we start with this one. This is the little platform that we're going to put on there. So you fold along the lines, right? So we'll do one fold, and then one fold, and then once that's folded, we fold the sides, and then we fold the edges, right? So here you see we have the edges, we fold the edges, and then we're going to make a little box with it, or like a platform, right? Something like that.
Now, Juan, I have a question from a viewer on Facebook, and they were just curious if you can celebrate animals with these altars as well.
Yes, we encourage people to celebrate any living being that they like, because animals are important. And originally in the tradition, people would put dogs the dogs that are native to Mexico, they're known as Xolo Escuintl. Those animals, people would put them also on the ofrenda. And then for the large part, we would fold this here and fold here. And again, we fold these little tabs. So, we fold right here, and then on this side, and then we fold the tabs going inwards. And then once we have them fold, what we want to do is we want to add an image, or you can draw an image. You don't have to.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You don't have to print an image. You can just draw an image. In this case, I'm putting the image of Jose Guadalupe Posada, who was really a great printmaker, and he inspired many of the imagery of Day of the Dead.
Can you say his name one more time?
Jose Guadalupe Posada.
Wonderful.
So if you look up Katrina and the person who made the Katrina, you'll find his a link to his history and images inspired by him. So what you do is with those little tabs, you can either glue them or you can put tape on them to make this little niche.
And then the smaller one is for our offerings. Is that correct?
Right. So on the small one, we'll put it inside. And I think on the template that we send, there should be an image that you can see how it's done. So this would go in here, and then you would put all the offerings and the flowers and everything. You glue them and put them all around your ofrenda. And you can also just draw things. You don't have to, go with the images that we send. So this is sort of like a little ofrenda that we wanted to.
Oh my word, I love that. That looks, you did such a good job with yours. I'm still cutting mine out, but I got my platform done. And for those of you watching, we will send a follow-up email after this program. I will make sure that you have the template one more time. And if you're on Facebook Live and you didn't give us your email, go ahead and shoot us a message on Facebook, just Newark Museum of Art, just drop us a little message and say, I would like that template, and I am happy to email that over to you later today so you can create one. Juan, you're a pro at this altar making because yours looks incredible, and I can't wait to finish mine in a minute. But I think you said if we had time, you might be able to show us one more sort of hands-on activity, something you can do to get a little crafty to celebrate today with your family.
Yes. So this is one of the other things that people do a lot, and these are the paper flowers. Paper flowers are very important, and the idea of the paper flowers is that they would mimic or look like real marigolds. So this one here is very simple to do. You can just buy tissue paper, cut it, and the folding is very simple. And what I'm going to be folding and explaining, I'll tell you a little bit about the paper and how it came to Mexico. So what you want to do is you buy tissue paper, and you can do it in any colors, of course, but here, just for the purpose of today, we'll do it in orange because we want to mimic the marigolds. And you want to cut the paper in sort of in rectangles, right? One side it doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle, but one side has to be shorter and two sides short and the other larger. And then all you do is you're going to fold the paper like a fan. And many of the kids who in school obviously remember, or maybe they make a lot of fans, especially around the summer. So that's how you want to do it. You just want to fold the paper. You make a fold about 1/2 inch, and then turn it around, and then just keep folding until you reach the end. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that paper wasn't around before the Spanish came to Mexico. This paper originally came from Asia, specifically from China. It was taken from China to the Philippines, and then from the Philippines it went into Mexico. And eventually, from Mexico, it ended up going to Europe. So that's how some of the traditions that we have, of course, were influenced by many cultures around the world through trade over the years. So once you have the paper fold like that, like an accordion, you're going to take a piece of, it could be wire, it could be pipe cleaner, or it could be even a piece of string. So you put it on exactly in the middle, and then you want to just tie it like that. Make sure you leave the ends open, right? Because we're going to use the ends. And then in order for this to look like a flower and to have this round shape, we want you to take a pair of scissors and cut the edges in a round way, right? So very carefully, you want to get rid of that square looking end of the paper and just do sort of like a semicircle. You can see it here, a semicircle. And then on the other side, you do the same thing. And there you go. So you do that. Now you can do a lot of different things. You can make cuts in here, or you can leave it just like that. You can also cut it in a triangle. Either way is fine. And then once you do that, you want to make sure that the paper or the string or the wire is exactly in the middle. You can fold it just by something like that, just so you know that it's really in the middle. And that's important because otherwise it's not going to look like a flower. And then you open it, and then you take the first sheet of paper and you pull it towards up or towards the center, and just do one by one, pull them all the way up one by one. You can do one side, both sides at the same time, or one side and then go around the other side, or you can do one side and then the other one. And once you do one, you keep doing the other one. And so the materials that you need for this is obviously tissue paper, cut it in a rectangle. You can use as many sheets as you want, but you want to start with 4 and then build it up to 6 maybe. And if the flowers are really, really big, then you want to do 10, 15 sheets. Again, depending on the size of the flower, you may want to add or subtract sheets of paper.
And this is just the kind of tissue paper you use when you give a gift to someone, right? Like if you go to maybe Dollar Tree or any kind of store like Target, you could find this in like the gift wrapping area, right?
Correct. This is just the regular tissue paper that you can use. And Papel Picado is also tissue paper.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of paper. And now this, for like a holiday, Mother's Day or any other holiday, this flower you can make one and you can put it on a gift and give it to someone. Or if you want, you can put a stem on it. And how do we do the stems? Well, we use dowels, right? So these little pieces of wood. And then what you can do is just put it right here. Put it up against the paper, and then just take the wire that was left and just put it all the way around the flower, like I'm doing. You can do one and then the other.
Yeah, and sometimes when I order takeout, I get extra chopsticks, and I'll save those chopsticks for stuff like this because you could use that as a dowel too.
Right. Yes, chopsticks are good. We have done some with chopsticks, and the interesting thing is that tissue paper originally was invented in China, so it's a big part also of Chinese culture.
Oh, so it relates. Look at that.
That's awesome. Something that we are, really thankful that a lot of cultures around the world have really contributed amazing creations and inventions, and many people around the world, benefit from all these cultural connections. And so this is one of the ones we have a connection to Asia. So you put a little bit of glue on the top, and then you just make sure you want to cover the wire. And then all you do is just hold it at an angle, and twist the stick or the dowel You don't have to put glue on it. You can only put glue at the top. And then once you reach the bottom, you put a little bit of more glue.
That looks beautiful.
And then you have a marigold flower. Well, I have two now.
That looks so wonderful. So that was sort of a nice bonus activity, a little surprise activity. And I know we didn't prepare you all for that one, but I hope having watched Juan make it, you can now, next time you're at the store, or next time you place an order online, get yourself some of these craft supplies. And the great thing is that this video now lives on our Facebook page for the New York Museum of Art. So if you forget how to make it, you can always go onto Facebook, look for New York Museum of Art, and this video will be on there so you can watch Juan again and again show you how to make these two wonderful, important activities to help celebrate Day of the Dead. I have a question for you, Juan. I have a couple questions that have come in the chat, and if anyone watching on Facebook Live or on Zoom have any more for Juan, please feel free to comment them. This person wants to know if you could talk a little bit about Frida Kahlo, if you know much about this artist, because she's really her love of Day of the Dead and La Catrinas is kind of comes forth in her artwork. And we wonder if you know anything about her that you can share with us.
Of course. Well, Frida Kahlo is one of the most famous Mexican painters. You know, she lived, I believe, in the 20s, 30s. That was she came to New York. She did some work in New York. She married Diego Rivera, who's also one of the most known outside of Mexico Mexican painters. And she loved her culture. Her mom's background is from Mexico. Her father background and where the Kahlo, the name Kahlo comes from, is he was a German immigrant, came to Mexico, and he married his wife, and then Frida was born. And since she was very little, she had a very difficult life, health-wise. She had a lot of issues, a lot of problems. But her art became really well known, and especially in the last 30 years, there's been an explosion of her art, and a lot of people like her art, and there's a lot of course association between Frida's look and Catrina's and Day of the Dead, and it's just one of those icons of Mexican culture that just has transcend. And it's something that everyone around the world knows.
And I love this meld of art and culture, because like you're saying, and tell me if I get his name wrong, but you said Posada's art was really influential and has been carried through. You know, he did these really great prints and illustrations of skeletons, and now that has really become what Day of the Dead might be known for as far as imagery goes. And the same with Frida Kahlo. These are things, this art that's kind of infiltrated culturally, and people are aware of it, and it kind of raises awareness and associations. People associate these things together.
Yes, a lot of the art has in Mexico, when things become so important, so great, and they just transcend the nation's borders, a lot of people would put one in the other and make associations. For example, Posada created his skulls not for Day of the Dead. They have no relation to Day of the Dead. He made his skulls because he thought it was a way of looking at people the same way. Whether you're poor or rich, you all look the same. And then many years later, the imagery was started to being used for Day of the Dead.
That is so interesting. Well, Juan, I don't see any more questions popping up in the chat, but if they appear in the next couple moments, I will try to get those answered. I want to share with you that I finished my altar. I do still have some work to do because it's not yet fully decorated, but I was able to follow along, and I've got my platform here, and I just need to share an image here. I'll be doing my altar in honor of my grandma. So this has been so easy and so fun to do, and very simple. And I live in a very small apartment, so this is a nice way to have a little area to honor, like you're saying, in your home. But it's also kind of a space saver too, for me at least. That
Yes,
was
and altars, like I said, they can be very little, very small, or they could be really big. In some communities in Mexico, people use their largest room, generally being the living room or the dining room, and the entire room becomes an ofrenda for their family, for their loved ones that passed away.
That's so beautiful. And you said they keep it up for how many days typically?
Typically, most people would put it up before the 28th of October, and then they leave it until November 3rd. In the morning is when they start to dismantle the altar. And one of the important things that I think is important to point out is that pretty much everything that is put on there is either a product from the land, something that is grown in the area, and everything else is handmade. So, the sugar skulls are handmade, the papel picado is handmade, a lot of flowers are handmade, either handmade or cultivated in the area. So one of the most important things about Day of the Dead, and which I like a lot, is that we want to make everything. Everything is about making. Here I have an example. Well, I have an example of a sugar skull. um, and these sugar skulls are really they're not very elaborate, so they use color paper on the eyes and then just a little bit of frosting on the top. um, but again, this is just a reminder, the sugar skulls is something that you shouldn't be scared about. This is just a reminder of our mortality and just a way of honor someone.
It's beautiful. I thank you so much for joining us today, Juan. This has been a wonderful educational for me and hopefully for you all, or maybe something you celebrate regularly. So you're right, tracking right with Juan and everything he's talking about. But this has been wonderful to learn from you. I really appreciate you celebrating with us. I hope everyone watching at home on Facebook Live and on Zoom have enjoyed our time together. As we come to the end, let's see, we've got a Q&A here. So we do have a question right before I end. I want to make sure we're able to get to these questions that are popping in. Rachel has asked, what's the best way to honor and celebrate since we're not able to be in person this year? What do you recommend, as far as, obviously this year with COVID, things have changed pretty dramatically.
It's difficult, because for example, we canceled our public events because we didn't want people to gather, obviously respecting the guidelines. But one of the things that we're doing is things like this. I think something important would be, if you can get together with family, building an altar to someone you're remembering at home, and calling your family and friends, whether it be over video or over the phone, and talk to them about how you're honoring or what you're doing. I think the most important thing that you should know is that Day of the Dead is a private family affair, and so it always happens inside homes. And obviously, many organizations like ours and many others took it out into the public to create awareness about the holiday. But this is an important time to really stay home and celebrate at home with your close family members, because it's, I think, and like I said, it doesn't have to be an elaborate ofrenda. It could be something very small, but it's significant to you and the person that you are remembering. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. Yes, that's a great reminder. And thank you, Rachel, for that question. That's, this year is different, but it's nice to know that simple things like you're saying, call your family and friends, talk about how you're celebrating, and make an altar, in your private home. Rachel says, thank you for that answer.
And you can also download the templates, and you can do, we have a few recipes there. If you want to venture into cooking some bread or making a sugar skull, of course, that would be another great way of doing it.
And that can all be found on your website?
Yes, it's on our website. If you just look Day of the Dead NYC, our website comes up. On all the information is there, and there's a lot of downloadable.
Thank you,
templates.
Kevin. Yes, here we go. We've got a
wonderful.
Yeah,
so just go to our website there. Is it there? Well, it's just mano.us, and then you can download things. And if you want to learn more, you can also follow us, or I'm sure the museum can also give you information about our website. I mean, our website to you that you forget.
Absolutely, we can. Yeah. And do you have any upcoming events you want to share, Juan, virtual or otherwise, that you all are doing at Mex Culture that you might want to let our visitors know about?
Yesterday we did a really nice webinar about or Facebook Live about Jose Guadalupe Posada. It's all in Spanish, so those of you who want to learn or who want to practice your Spanish, you can watch it. We may do one in English in probably the middle of the month. Today we're going to have a small video. We're doing an Aztec Mexica dance ceremony, sort of welcoming the souls of the dead. And that's going to happen where well, I'm not going to say the place, but we don't want people to go there. But so that's going to be streamed online on Facebook, and we created a memorial for those who have passed away in the last year. So we'll be at that place, just remembering people. So if they go to our Facebook page, they'll see something around 4 p.m.
Wonderful. So follow you on Facebook, check out your website. See what you're doing on Instagram. Your handle is Mex Culture, just like your name says here on Zoom. Wonderful. It's been really fun to share with you, to learn from you, and thank you for taking us through these two activities. I hope everyone watching was able to get creative today, and I hope you all learned something new or different that maybe you didn't know about Dia de los Muertos. I have a couple reminders for everyone before we all go about the rest of our day. We have a wonderful session coming up next by a makeup artist, Vanessa Varela, who is going to be taking us through how to do La Catrina makeup. So we've been talking today with Juan a lot about La Catrina and what that looks like. And so she is going to have us follow along with her on Zoom. So if you're interested in that event, we're going to put the link in the chat here so that you can join us. And if you're on Facebook Live, that is coming up in just a few moments. We hope you're enjoying Community Days so far. We're having a really great time with you all. We really love bringing you all virtual programming. So if you're able and willing, any donations are greatly appreciated. They kind of support what we do as a museum and allow us to continue to work with partners like Juan and bring you all interesting and engaging programming. So I want to just offer that. There's a link in the chat as well for you if you are able to donate. Don't forget to show us your altars, what you made today. So if you have pictures that you want to share, please post those online. Tag us, the Newark Museum of Art, tag Mex Culture. Juan would love to see what you created as well so that they can enjoy these wonderful crafts you've made. And then I want to thank our generous sponsors, the Horizon Foundation, for supporting our family days when we do these programs on Community Day. We're so grateful. And our next one, if you're enjoying this Community Day, is coming up on November 21st. We're going to be hosting Astrofest. So mark your calendars for November 21st, Astrofest, where we're going to welcome Mae Jemison, the first African-American astronaut to go in space. So that is going to be a big day-long event. Thank you all for joining us. Juan, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Dia de los Muertos.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so grateful to have you with us today, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you.